They were too woke, insisting that people use the term Latinx.
Too far to the left on transgender rights.
You have to say they. No, you have to do this.
Stop with the virtue signaling.
Step away from woke.
Focus less on who is woke and more on who is broke.
Social justice issues take a back seat when your son is in the basement vaping and playing video games and can't find a job.
Everyone's talking about this wokeness theory, from cable news to the op-ed section, and sometimes the op-ed section being read on cable news. I only have one problem with the woke theory. I just didn't recall seeing any Democrats running on woke shit. These were the commercials I saw for the Democrats.
Sherrod Brown is working to fix our border crisis.
Mondaire Jones is working to secure our border.
Pat Ryan is restoring order at our southern border.
I'm Laura Gillen, and I'm here at the border of Nassau County. We're 2,000 miles from Mexico, but we're feeling the migrant crisis almost every day.
John, here's the truth. You got it, but you don't get it. I'll explain.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Somebody to the top of the line!
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. And once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. That's the way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Afternoon Drive. So we all waited to see what would Jon Stewart's take on the election be. How would he get into it? And of course, we know where he's coming from in his political ideology. But here he tries to offer up, hey, you Democrats that are hitting the panic button over the woke agenda, you do understand that none of you guys ran as woke. And then, of course, he proceeds to go through this example from their TV commercials.
They were too woke, insisting that people use the term Latinx.
Too far to the left on transgender rights.
You have to say they. No, you have to do this.
Stop with the virtue signaling.
Step away from woke.
Focus less on who is woke and more on who is broke.
Social justice issues take a back seat when your son is in the basement vaping and playing video games and can't find a job.
Everyone's talking about this wokeness theory, from cable news to the op-ed section, and sometimes the op-ed section being read on cable news. I only have one problem with the woke theory. I just didn't recall seeing any Democrats running on woke shit. These were the commercials I saw for the Democrats.
Sherrod Brown is working to fix our border crisis.
Mondaire Jones is working to secure our border.
Pat Ryan is restoring order at our southern border.
I'm Laura Gillen, and I'm here at the border of Nassau County. We're 2,000 miles from Mexico, but we're feeling the migrant crisis almost every day.
He even has to throw this in about Kamala thinks she's a hottie Harris.
And don't forget about Kamala Harris. It's not like she was exactly waving around her NPR tote bag.
I have a Glock.
You're right, John. They didn't run on a woke agenda. They ran on a fake agenda. That's what you didn't understand or admit. Say what you want about Donald Trump. The reason that he won an overwhelming landslide, and I was talking about this aspect of Donald Trump even before the election. He's authentic. What the American people were screaming about with Kamala was not about she wasn't doing enough interviews. The interviews weren't real. They weren't authentic. Everything was rehearsed lines and talking points, and she's like a robotic machine that you just insert the tape. It's like the old action figures and dolls from the 1960s and 70s. Pull the string, it has 5 sayings. That's Kamala thinks she's a hottie Harris. Pull the string and see what she might say. It might get close to the right answer, it might not, and if it's not, it's okay. CBS will take that answer out and insert another one. The American people saw nothing authentic about so many of these running on fixing the border. They broke the border. You do understand that when people are angry and frustrated and they were told originally, inflation is not a problem. It's all in your head. It's all in your imagination. Then you finally get around to acknowledging, okay, well, inflation is a thing, but hey, we're in much better shape than any country on the planet. I don't care. I don't live there. I live here. I can't afford to live here. I can't afford to buy groceries, gas. I can't afford a mortgage payment. You guys, you just don't get it. You want to come across so erudite, so arrogant, so we know so much more than you. And that's what killed you. The American people are tired of being talked at and talked down to. You know who had this right? The guys over at Due Dissidence. Now, they're not exactly Trump-loving conservative guys. But they've hit on something that nobody else is talking about the way they are.
That's right. My people. Gen X is the only demographic group that voted in a majority for Donald Trump. Now, at the time that this was put out, it was 53 to 45. Wound up being by 10 points. Now, if you look at every other age group, they did not. 18 to 29, Harris plus 11. Now, that did cut in from 2020, but it was still 30 to 44. Harris eked out a bare plus 1. 65 and older, tied, which is amazing. That's another thing I never would have seen coming. But no. Gen X, look, we're used to being ignored. We are used to being overlooked. Many say we are the middle child between the boomers and the millennials. But as the latchkey generation, as a generation of divorced households that basically had to raise ourselves, we got ignored and neglected for so long that we've grown to like it. All we wanted was to be left alone. Now, there were signs that this was coming, and this is what I meant earlier when I said I missed some of this. Gen X and President Biden, reality bites. I did not know this. Apparently, even ahead of time, they knew Gen X was the Trumpiest of the generations, and this I really didn't know. This is what I mean. If I had known this, I might not have expected women to vote on abortion. That my whole prediction was based on that. But only 41% of Gen X women said they supported Harris. 54% supported Trump. Imagine being so unlikable that you got the leave me alone, I don't care generation to come out en masse to vote your ass out. LOL. Yep. You're welcome. Now leave us alone. I voted. We had to. You kept bothering us and trying to tell us what to do. This was a mistake. Yes. You're welcome. Cleaning up boomers' messes is our lot in life. Amen, Mr. Sinistral. Amen. Decompressing from walking on eggshells for the past 4 years. I have found the last 4 years to be an almost intolerable period, a very un-American period in that any questioning, any opinions, any likes or dislikes were held up to a very limited set list of permitted positions in order to assess acceptability. I've never in my life known that to be an American environment. It's an environment I have encountered in smaller groupings, a church, a private club, a clique, but never before as a national blanket. It has been suffocating. Common sense was discarded. Intellectual discussion was demonized. Only permitted position behavior and speech was allowed. Complete intolerance became almost a religion, and one's professional and social life was threatened almost constantly. Those that spoke otherwise were ruined as a warning to others. Their destruction was displayed in the town square of social media for all to see. This was the me too moment, where every effort was made to divert attention to oneself instead of recognizing how one contributes to the whole. This was the era of trying to exercise control over those who did not want to follow the crowd and have their own ideas about what they needed to do. This dampened our culture and innovation, bringing people to even think that generative AI, a regurgitation of the past, was actually our cultural future. When you starve a society of those called to be independent thinkers and cultural and intellectual innovators, you rob that society of any forward movement. Those that tried to impose that control maintained a kind of hall monitor position by threatening others with damning labels like sexist, racist, homophobic, etc., when the free thinking and questioning was nothing of the sort. However, the mob mentality that followed caused these social convictions when there was often no evidence to support them. See Charles Mackay's 1841 book, Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. I am neither one extreme or the other, but am one of the millions of people who believe in common sense and that everyone should be free to live their lives however they want, unless that freedom interferes with someone else's freedom to live their own life. That's it. So we have the greatest generation, followed by the boomers, maybe the worst generation. I think we can safely say now that Gen X is the most based generation. And Justine?
Boom, shakalaka boom, shakalaka boom, boom, baby. Yes, my generation. Generation X. I can so attest to this. We like to be left alone. My kids and my wife are constantly amazed how much I enjoy being alone. I need my alone time, my office study time, my studio recording and production time, do hobbies and things alone. Now, I love my family. I love being with them. And then I love my alone time. Leave me alone. I was that kid that walked home from school and let himself in the house because both parents were working. Sometimes I go to my grandmother. Sometimes I just walk home. I knew how to throw a frozen pizza in the oven at, age 10 and eat that while I watched, mindless cartoons on afternoon TV and reruns of Batman and Robin and Superman. And my parents would get home around 5:30. My mother would make something for dinner. We'd have a little conversation at the dinner table. Not much. My dad was ex-military, so the kitchen table was for eating, not talking. And I did the other normal kid stuff. But hey, we became self-sufficient. And if you hurt yourself, cut yourself, you either figured out how to deal with it or you ran next door to a neighbor. And that generation, which we have pretty much said, you know what, do your own thing, just stay out of my lane with it. What two men and a mule want to do behind a closed door as a pastor, I might have a theological issue with it, a righteous holiness issue with it. But if you're doing it behind the closed door, you know what? You'll answer to God someday for it. But when you then take that activity that's behind a closed door and you want to put it in a kindergarten classroom, you want to put it on TV and make me not only look at it and make me not only accept it, but then go out, promote and endorse it and, wave the right flag and use the right... Houston, time out. Now you got a problem because you took your crap from your lane and you stuck it in my lane. And you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. And on top of that, you tanked the economy. You broke the border. We've got lawlessness and crime running rampant in the streets. It's time for an adult to be in charge. And that's what we've got now with Donald Trump and this incredible team that he is assembling around him. We don't run as well. You're Kamala Harris said she likes guns. Yeah, like we believe that. We also know the other things that Kamala Harris has said. Real good in your selective memory and editing there, John. We've got Kamala saying, We're stuck with the Second Amendment. Nothing I can do about that, but I can regulate the people that make the guns, sell the guns. I can regulate the ammunition. She talked about having the right to go into people's homes to see if they were properly storing the gun. No violation of our privacy there, huh? We know what Kamala and the rest of the Democrats think about the border and guns, etc., etc., etc. And don't say you weren't trying to run as woke. No, you were doing what Democrats always do every election cycle. You moderate to the middle, try to convince the American people that you're saying that you're normal and everything's cool and everything's okay, and you care about the things they care about. Then as soon as you get elected, you immediately pivot hard left. You forget about everything you campaigned on, and you're going to ramrod this social culture wokeism down our throats. And this time the American people said, you're not doing it anymore. And you don't get it, John. We did, and we said, take a walk.